So whenever I write manuscripts, I usually focus on not on the details, not on the constructs of grammar and like the laws, the rules of writing and all that, the three-act structure and all that. What is important for me during the first draft is to get to know the characters, to spend time to get to know the characters, what they like, how they talk, how they see things, how like their perspectives and what made them who they are. And based on the character, like I interview characters, so I interview them whenever I stay away from my desk and all that stuff that I have to do from publishing as a publisher. I usually ask those characters and like try to know who they are, what made them who they are, where they came from, all these questions like a journalist. And like it's just amount like the right amount, the right amount of curiosity about their world, about their life. And over time I didn't realize that by doing this, like getting to know the characters and essentially developing the story and propelling the story forward based on the characters' decisions, which over time becomes a collection of decisions, because for me a plot is a collection of decisions. So for me to develop a strong plot, actually I have to spend time to get to know the characters, each one of them. And in each character that I write, I spend time really talking to them in a way where they don't feel offended, because I don't want to write the characters' lives from a judgmental point of view. And because I don't like to judge my characters, I like to be their persecutor instead. And by doing that, it's also forcing me as a person, as an author, to get to know myself as well. In the same way as I do know or try to know the characters and their lives, what makes them who they are, what takes them, what makes them fall in love, what makes them sad, what makes them happy. And in the same way, I also recognize the fact that, like it's my basic rule as the writer not to judge the character's decisions, even if it's wrong or even if it's unjustful and unlawful, because it's not my job to judge them. It's my job to understand them and understand them in a way where I can write them in such a beautiful way without judgment, where you as the reader will not feel like she's bashing the character. You know what I'm saying? So by doing that, examining these characters, I recognize that being human is to judge, and being human is to make errors, mistakes. And the worst mistakes a character makes, it makes the story interesting. So the worst, and it's like the worse the worst decision the character will do in a story, the better the story will be. And in the same way, on the flip side, if I do the same thing in my real life, then I will end up like that. Is that the kind of life that I like to have? It's nice to read, it's nice to have in a story, it's nice to entertain yourselves with this drama in life, but is this something that I like to have in my real life? No. What happened in the past was different, because I like to have drama in my real life and less drama in my writing world. So it was reversed. So I had a peaceful, stable, comfortable job as a writer, as a freelance content writer, and I have been like offering my energy to business people, to businessmen, to different, to business. So I treated writing as a business. And as I went on, and then here comes the dark night of the soul, it changed everything. Because now, writing has never been the same again. Writing helped me find myself again in a way that I haven't done before. In a way that I can speak comfortably to you today without really feeling like icky and uneasy, as if, yeah, I'm talking to the camera right now. And the thing is, like I said before, being human is to be judgmental and less compassionate. And what I realized that when I write something, when I write a character, for example, it is very important for me to really know the character and understand their world, because only when I understand their world will I be able to write them with compassion. Will I be able to understand their world without being judgmental towards their decisions? And I want to understand them more because I want to bring up maybe some lessons. Because I also recognize that the characters that I make came from a section of me. A section of me that I don't want to recognize and acknowledge in my conscious mind. Maybe these characters' decisions could have been the decisions that I will make in the future if I were not aware of it. Or the characters' decisions were the past decisions that I've made, which I've regretted so much that I like to reconcile with my present self so I can finally let go and move on. Either way, it's a form of release. It's a form of release without judging myself, because I write them in a form of a fiction. I write them in the form of a character. So in the same way, on the same note, how will you, based on your form or preferred medium of creative expression, how can you alchemize, how can you transform your pain into something that will propel you forward to the future self that you envisioned? Because for me, the more I'm writing, the more I'm digging deep through my shadow work and all that, I was able to be more honest with myself. And by being honest, I was able to be more at ease with myself and not so concerned about how I look, not so concerned about how I would sound to you, because I like to speak based on how I really speak. And if there are some people who saw me angry, because I am angry. And if you think that, if you've read any of my books, maybe you're thinking, this character is too dark, this character is crazy. Yeah, because all the characters that I've created and written came from me. So that means a section of me, a part of me, maybe a past, maybe a future that I envisioned, maybe a past that I wanted to forget. And I wouldn't have been able to write them if I hadn't had experienced all of those things, all of the painful experiences in life. And that's why I'm so thankful that I was able to find writing in a way where it could massage my trauma and welcome those haunting memories that I've been avoiding and trying to resent and regret and repress, project even, just because they're too painful to recognize and welcome and acknowledge in my conscious brain. And because I have chosen fiction to do that, I am now able to talk to you. I am now able to talk to you with ease. I am now able to move around circumstances, unfamiliar circumstances, with ease and grace. Because through writing, I was able to recognize the unhealthy parts of myself, the toxic, the unhealthy parts of myself, the dark sides of me. And Like I wouldn't have been able to write them the way they are if I hadn't had those moments in my life where I was rock bottom, where I feel like I am hopeless, where I feel like I have no one to count on and to lean on. If I weren't honest with myself, I wouldn't have the courage and the strength to handle myself quite right in writing intense emotions in every scene. And I wouldn't have found relief, bliss, and joy in everything I do in my daily life if I hadn't had the courage to confront what is lying deep inside me. All those unconscious and subconscious thoughts and feelings that's lurking deep within me can be revealed through writing. And that's why in most of my videos, I always encourage you to find something that your childhood brings you, or some messages from your childhood that you maybe until now as an adult you still cannot forget. Because your childhood reveals you a lot of things, the very things that you as an adult person may have forgotten, but like in some moments of your day you remember them in glimpses. And because me, when I was like 4 years old, for example, before all this trauma and all that, I was a writer. I was writing stories in my head. During my break time when I was a kid, I remember sitting down underneath the blueberry tree, looking up on the hill, because I was living in Sawyer's Hill, and it was a hill and it was nice, and it was like just daydreaming. I was just daydreaming all the stories, just like air. It's just like floating, ideas floating everywhere, and it's just a matter of me doing things. But over the way, along the way, as I grew old and all that, education came and system came and dogma came. I forgot all those things. In my 20s, in my teens, I believed that I was this damaged, broken woman. I believed that I don't have hopes for a better future because how could I even think of future? Like, as a graduating student, how could I even think of future if I couldn't even think of tomorrow? How could I think of my adulthood in my teens? How could I think of my future self as an adult if now, at that time, when I was just like, let's say 15, 16, if I was already on the verge of, you know what I mean? It was my first attempt. I was 16 because I couldn't handle it. I couldn't handle the pressure and everything. And I was ready. At 18, I did it again. And in my 20s, I did a series of things to destroy myself because I couldn't find that one moment in my life where I could just sit down and underneath the blueberry tree and watch the hills and enjoy life as it is. Enjoying in a way where I'm productive because I feel like my gift is natural to me. And on the same note, what's that very thing that you love doing when you were a child? What's that very thing that you love doing when you were a child that you want to do as an adult, or maybe fear to do again as an adult? Because of all the things that happened to you, good and bad. You may have forgotten them, you may have suppressed them somewhere in the depths of your brain, and you maybe want to do something with them again. And maybe you can do something with them today, right now. And that's the beauty of life. And the very reason why I fell in love with writing fiction and short stories, because it allows me to welcome the good and the bad sides of me. So my books isn't just about to entertain you. It isn't just about me, right, being an author and doing my job. It's also about me being a god in the book, to be unapologetically compassionate to each one of them. And on that note, I like to say that it has been helpful, because it has been beneficial in a way where writing them on how they are really, like, even if I cringe, even if their actions don't make sense to me, or if their words and dialogue exchanges kind of cryptic to me, it's not my job to correct them. It's my job to tell them, share them with you, because my job as a writer is not to judge them, but to share with you as the reader. So as much as I can, I want those emotions intact and real and raw, to make you feel something. How can I make you feel something if I am also blocked? So if it's like a singer, how can a singer relay the message of the song if she herself don't understand what she was singing? If a dancer cannot dance in the same rhythm of the music, then why perform? So if that makes sense to you, that's how and why I fell in love with writing, and that's why I spend lots of time in this craft. And writing hundreds of thousands of words have never been so effortless, until I rediscovered that childhood dream, the childhood memory of me under the blueberry tree. To make this episode a bit more personal, I'd like to share with you a journal entry dated May 30, 2024. So you will better understand how it is for me to do shadow work and encounter myself without being judgmental. Okay, so to relive the painful experiences of my life without being offensive. So, Chief, guten Abend. Accountability and being able to gain control, not in a sense that feeds my ego, but to keep my awareness in check. This is the lesson I want to note here today. I forgive myself for that. My husband and I talked about something that triggered something deep inside me. During the discussion, I mentioned how life has deprived me in so many ways, but there are things I have and can overcome. However, some are obviously out of my control. For instance, I will be blessed with a creative mind, fierce scorpionic determination, but I will face the lack of resources. If I only look at the surface, I can easily summon my inner critic and bombard myself with demeaning remarks. It would have been really easy for me to drown in anxiety and be paralyzed by it. I've had bouts of it sometimes, but I was rather melancholic and dread than emotionally violent. Lack, the sense of lack. That nagging feeling that no one is going to help you. As my mother often says, there's nobody else I could count on except myself. I grew up thinking that the world is harsh and dangerous, and that everyone is a rival. I should be the best, at the top. So later I realized that by confronting the most difficult emotions just like this helped me lift my spirit, because it allowed me to look at myself. It's like me looking at myself straight into the mirror and staring at the reflection staring back at me. And I want to be that person who can tell her, the person staring back at me, that I did something good, that I feel better, that I feel great about myself. And it wasn't easy. The process wasn't easy. It took me years to build up and to boost myself, years of relentless pursuit of trying to understand what is actually going on inside me and what is actually going on around me, or what has actually happened to me. It's years of silent dedication and gentle strength without anyone watching. It was like, like just reading the anecdote, the journal entry that I've just read before. I remember crying with this entry because at that time it was really a hard thing for me to accept. It was hard for me to really just be content and just be, be content with the feeling of just exist. It was always that I have to push myself forward. It was always have like me as a writer, it always has to be like I have to get up every morning because I have to reach this and that number of words. Instead of seeing it as, I wake up today because I feel excited. I feel excited to write. It's a different perspective. Instead of looking at it by the numbers, by the number of strokes going up or going down, I want to base it on how I feel. Because I want to build something real that's real to me. And what is real to me is how I feel about it. That I feel good about it. I earned a lot of medals. It's not about to brag, but those medals didn't mean anything to me because I don't feel proud that I have those medals and certificates and accolades and all. I feel proud instead when I wrote books, when I earned cents. It doesn't make sense. I know it doesn't make sense, but I feel good. And no money can ever pay that. And even when no one is buying my books, it makes me feel good. And that's what matters, right? Whenever we do something because it feels good. In a good way. And it's something that I can be proud of when I die. So when doing shadow work, if you feel like you're ready to do shadow work, you have to understand that you have to be completely honest with yourself and be ready to be completely honest with yourself. So by the time that you will be able to release all those feelings and thoughts onto the page, you feel lighter. Because if you lie, even in the words, then you're lying to yourself, you're lying to God, you're lying to the page. And with me, in my case, I went to the extremes of it. Like when I did my shadow work, when I started it, I even went to as far as genealogy, researching backgrounds of my family, interviewed people from my genealogy friends and all that, and to have a better perspective on how and why things happen the way they are, or why these things happened to my family, what happened, and this and that, and all those questions were answered somehow. And all those effort of doing researching, trying to understand what is actually going on, or what went on, what happened to me, and what I am actually doing right now, that is still caused by the past, that traumatized me. It allowed me to just sit down with how I actually decide on things. Because when I have collected all this data that I needed, I was able to sit down with myself like this and meet myself in a way where, okay, right in front of me, in front of my table, I have all these printed sheets and interviews and facts and research that did, studies that I've collected. Now what I can do now is to read them and study them objectively. And when I do the objective study, it's like making myself a case study. Now I have to be honest with myself. If, let's say, if this is the definition, no, I'm stuttering. If this is the definition of narcissistic parenting, if this is the definition of narcissism, then I have to recognize that I grew up in that pattern. Or I may have narcissistic tendencies, for example. Or if I have figured out that actually what happened with some of my family members is like depression, there was some misunderstanding or something in between, then maybe I can recognize that pattern within myself right now. Then maybe I can trace it back and maybe I can change that. So, but without all these studies and all this information gathering from years back, I wouldn't have been able to figure out all of this. I wouldn't have been able to share things with you just like right now, all this like in the last couple of minutes talking to you. And through connecting all the dots, I was able to now figure out this strong foundation within myself, know myself in a way where I feel that I have given myself more respect than before. Like being listened, being heard, all these things that I've wanted, that I've begged from others, all these things I've given to myself, because these are the very things that I've never received, or I have never to not received at all. If I have received it, maybe it was minimal, or maybe it was. Your mind will tell you explanations. Your mind will tell you things, outline of things that will convince you to feel that. But your heart and soul will tell you differently, because it's just a matter of, how do I feel today? I'm sad. 1 second. But if your brain, if you tend to listen to your brain, it will be like, how do I feel today? It will be like, because I went to the coffee shop, I should be feeling great today because I have a coffee in front of me. I submitted all my reports on time, on deadline, so I should be feeling great today. A lot of reasons. But in the end, when you take shower, or you just lay down in the bed before you sleep and ask yourself, how do you really feel? Are you sad, happy, disappointed? How does that feeling called? Do you even recognize how you feel? Are you jealous? Are you envious? Are you startled? Are you surprised? All these things that I've been telling you in the last couple of minutes have been the very things that I have mastered and learned over the years just to survive and live. Without these things that I've been telling you, and like, I hope that these are clear to you. But all these things, what I'm saying is, all these things that I've been telling you the last couple of minutes have been the very things that I have been doing myself until now. And I'm just sharing them with you because I know that it will help you survive the harsh life and live the next day with a smile, and start to love yourself in a way that you haven't done before, and try to relieve yourself from the suffering that others have caused yourself. And if this is something, if you like to join me in this crusade of shadow work, and if you like to join the shadow whisperer, if you like to join the shadow whisperer, feel free to open yourself and be comfortable and engage with this through, like sharing your comments and thoughts and feelings in the comment section below. Or you can grab a journal and journal with me. And remember this. Always be compassionate with yourself. If there's a painful or if there's a hard feeling that comes up, pause. If you need to cry, you pause. Just don't force it. If you feel like you have to stop, then you have to stop. Pause, stop, pause, stop. Learn to listen to how you feel. Learn to listen how your body feels. Are you hungry or not, or so and so. So if you're in this mood of, okay, now I'm with myself, I'm sitting with myself right now, this is my moment. Now I want you to ask these questions. Why do I fear making someone feel bad? Why do I always need to accommodate other people's feelings rather than mine? Why do I always base or decide based on others' opinions and feelings, if not based on the group, instead of me, based on how I think and feel about things? What do I actually want to do right now if I were truly honest with myself? What do I actually want to say right now if I were not to care about other people's feelings? Way too much or all the time? What do I actually want to feel and think if I weren't so concerned about others, fearing anything like abandonment, disharmony, isolation, divorce, breakup, or whatever? So, as a practice, I like you to ponder these questions in a form of journaling or whichever form is comfortable and convenient for you. And again, I would like you to be compassionate with yourself. And if you can be detailed and give examples for example, blah blah blah, what event and when it happened, how it happened, based on the memories that you can collect. And then from after that, after like all the details, how do you feel about it? Without judging, oh, I shouldn't have felt that, oh, I know it was wrong. No. It should be like, should be. Decide. How do you feel about it? It's time for your heart and soul to speak up because you have been listening to your mind for so long. You have been listening to your mind for so long that it's time for your heart and soul to speak. And maybe it's time for you to listen to them because they bear the answers. Otherwise, you wouldn't be here listening to me, because if you feel like your mind has been giving you the good life, then you wouldn't be here listening to me. You wouldn't be here listening to me because you wouldn't have felt so lonely. If your mind has given you the best of things, then you wouldn't be feeling miserable. You wouldn't be feeling like you needed someone to talk to, someone to listen, someone who would understand you the way you are. You wouldn't have searched venues, channels where you can find yourself and feel belonged. So I guess it's time. It's really time for you to give yourself the second chance, just like how I've given myself a second chance myself too. And it's a second chance that gives another meaning of my existence, because in my 30s and my 20s I have existential crisis, and as early as 8 I was already asking myself why I'm living. Why do I live? 8 years old, I already have existential questions. And until now, I've been trying to soothe myself by feeling content that I wouldn't have all the answers in the world, but at least in this moment, I can sit down with myself with ease. Because I know how I feel. I know how I think now. But back then, when I was in your position, no, I was lost. But now, I hope that these questions will help you pave the way and make the asphalt road before the concrete road comes. If you don't understand what I'm trying to say. So, It's not for me to say that you should do this, you should do that. What I'm doing right now is just a guide for you to have a structure on how you can start shadow work without being so forced, without feeling like you have to insult yourself and berate yourself again, without feeling that you have to criticize yourself, without feeling like you have to be smart enough to provide insightful insights, without feeling the need that you have to provide the most intelligent answers. Because allow yourself to be human for once and for all. We're all human and you are human. And I will not be perfect. I am human. You will not be perfect. You are human. And it's fine. You don't have to be perfect. You are fine just how you are. And this is your story. This is your life story. And it's really time for you to do something, to find a better life, to find a better future. And maybe it's time for you to find it. It's a quest, it's an adventure that I'm inviting you to join me. So it's not too late, even if you're 80 years old listening to this, and even if you're 50 years old, it doesn't matter. Because what is important is how you feel right now and what kind of future self that awaits you, waiting for you at the train station. And it's up for you, the present self, the right now, the self that you are now. It's up for you to do something about it. Maybe it's time. Because if you feel miserable and sad right now, maybe it's time to listen to your heart and soul. Because your mind, you've been listening to your mind all these years, and now you found yourself in this trap. You found yourself in the darkness, and now it's time for you to do something. Maybe it's time for you to listen to your heart, to finally figure out your story, your life story. That will be all today. I'll see you in the next one. Choose.